A bustling Saturday evening at Le Château, one of those upscale restaurants in downtown Chicago, where the chandeliers glitter like promises of prestige, and the waitstaff glide with an air of untouchable sophistication. The kind of place where you need a reservation 3 months in advance, and even then you'd better dress like you belong. The air smells of rosemary and seared steak, and the soft hum of jazz floats over the clinking of wine glasses. But tonight, something's about to crack that polished veneer wide open. Enter Marcus Turner, a man in his early 30s, black, unassuming, dressed in a plain navy jacket and slightly worn sneakers. He's carrying a canvas tote bag, the kind you'd see a teacher or a librarian hauling around. His face is calm, but his eyes carry a quiet weight, like he's seen more than he lets on. He steps into Le Château, not with swagger, but with purpose, as if he's been here before, though no one seems to recognize him. The hostess, a young woman named Emily, barely glances up from her podium. Her smile is tight, practiced, and it fades the moment she sees Marcus. "Good evening," Marcus says, his voice steady, polite. "I have a reservation for one under Turner." Emily's eyes flick over him, his jacket, his sneakers, the tote bag. Her lips purse. "I'm sorry, sir, but we don't have any reservations under that name. And we're fully booked tonight." Her tone is clipped final, like she's already decided he doesn't belong here. The couple behind Marcus, dressed in designer labels, gets a warm smile and an immediate escort to their table. Marcus doesn't flinch, but you can see it in his eyes, a flicker of something. Not anger, not yet, but a deep, simmering awareness. He tries again, patient. "Could you check again? I made the reservation 2 weeks ago. Marcus Turner." Emily sighs loud enough for the nearby patrons to turn their heads. "Sir, I've already checked. Perhaps you meant another restaurant." Her words drip with condescension, and now the manager, a man named Preston, steps over. He's in his 40s, slicked-back hairsuit, tailored to scream authority. His smile is all teeth, but his eyes are cold. "Is there a problem here?" Preston asks, looking at Marcus like he's a stain on the restaurant's pristine reputation. "No problem," Marcus says, his voice still calm, almost too calm. "Just trying to confirm my reservation." Preston doesn't even check the system. He crosses his arms, his posture screaming dismissal. "Look, sir, this is a high-end establishment. We have a certain standard. If you don't have a confirmed reservation, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." The word "sir" lands like a slap, and the nearby diners are now openly staring, some whispering, others smirking. A woman in a red dress mutters, "Probably thought he could just walk in." Marcus doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. "I understand standards," he says, his gaze locking with Preston's. "But I also expect fairness. Check the system." There's a weight to his words, a quiet authority that makes Preston hesitate for a split second. But only a second. Preston laughs a short, barking sound. Fairness. This isn't a soup kitchen. "Security," he snaps his fingers, and a burly guard named Tony steps forward, his hand already on Marcus's arm. The room feels smaller now, the air heavier. The diner's whispers grow louder, and Emily's smirk is unmistakable. Marcus doesn't resist, but he doesn't move either. He just stands there, his tote bag still slung over his shoulder, his expression unreadable. "Last chance," Preston says, leaning in close. "Leave quietly, or we'll make this ugly." Marcus tilts his head just slightly, and there's something in that movement, a glint of steel beneath the calm. "You sure you want to do this?" he asks, his voice low, almost a whisper. The question hangs in the air, heavy with promise. Preston scoffs, but there's a flicker of unease in his eyes. Tony tightens his grip, ready to drag Marcus out. And then Marcus's phone buzzes. He glances at it just for a moment, and a faint smile crosses his lips. It's not smug, not triumphant, but it's enough to make you wonder. Who is this man? Why isn't he rattled? Why does he seem so certain? The guard starts to pull him toward the door, and the diners watch, some with pity, others with disdain. But you, the viewer, you're starting to feel it, a slow burn of anger, a knot in your chest. This isn't right. This man did nothing wrong, and they're treating him like garbage. You want to scream at Preston, at Emily, at the whole damn restaurant. And you want to know what happens next. The camera lingers on Marcus's face as he's led toward the exit, his tote bag swinging slightly. The screen fades to black, but not before you catch a glimpse of something tucked into the bag's open flap, a leather-bound notebook with an embossed seal. It's too quick to read, but it's enough to make your heart skip. Who is Marcus Turner, and what's about to go down? The screen fades back in, and we're still at Le Château, but the tension has ratcheted up. Marcus is now standing just outside the restaurant's glass doors, Tony's hand still on his arm. The Chicago night is cool, the streetlights casting long shadows on the sidewalk. A small crowd has gathered, diners who followed to gawk passers-by, drawn by the commotion. Preston stands in the doorway, arms crossed, his smugness practically radiating. Emily's there too, her phone out recording, probably thinking this'll go viral for all the wrong reasons. You made a mistake. Marcus says, his voice steady but carrying an edge, now like a blade wrapped in velvet. He's not yelling, not pleading, just stating a fact. Tony loosens his grip, confused by Marcus's calm. Preston, though, isn't having it. Mistake? Preston sneers, stepping forward. The only mistake here is you thinking you could waltz into my restaurant looking like that. He gestures at Marcus's jacket, his sneakers, his tote bag, like they're evidence of some crime. The crowd murmurs, some nodding in agreement, others shifting uncomfortably. You, the viewer, feel that anger from before boiling hotter. This isn't just unfair, it's cruel. Marcus doesn't flinch. He adjusts his tote bag, and that's when you notice it again. That leather notebook, the embossed seal catching the light. It's subtle, but it's there, and it's starting to nag at you. What's in that bag? Why does he carry himself like he's not afraid? He reaches into his pocket, slow and deliberate, and pulls out his phone. I'd like to speak to the owner, he says. Preston laughs loud and theatrical. The owner, kid. You're looking at the guy who runs this place. And I say you're done here. The crowd chuckles, but it's nervous now. Something's off. Marcus's calmness is unnerving, like he's playing a game no one else understands. I don't think you're the owner, Marcus says, his eyes narrowing just enough to make Preston pause. But I'll give you a chance to check that reservation again. For your sake. The words land like a warning shot, and for the first time, Preston's smirk falters. Emily, still recording, zooms in on Marcus's face, probably hoping for a meltdown. She's not getting one. Tony, sensing the shift, lets go of Marcus's arm entirely. Boss, maybe we should, he starts, but Preston cuts him off. Shut up, Tony. This guy's nobody. Probably some scam artist trying to get a free meal. He turns to the crowd, playing to their biases. You all know how this works, right? People like him pull this stunt all the time. The crowd's murmurs grow louder, but now there's a split. Some nod, others frown, and a few start whispering to each other. You're screaming inside, wanting to shake them. How can they not see this is wrong? Marcus doesn't react to the jab. Instead, he opens his tote bag, just enough for the camera to catch a glimpse of that notebook again. And now you see it. A gold embossed seal, something official, something important. He doesn't pull it out, doesn't flaunt it, but the way he handles the bag, the way his fingers brush the leather, it's deliberate. He wants Preston to see it. He wants you to see it. Last chance, Marcus says, echoing his words from part 1, but this time there's a weight to them, a promise. Preston's eyes dart to the bag, and for a split second, he looks nervous. But he doubles down, stepping closer, invading Marcus's space. "You threatening me?" Preston hisses. "You're nothing. You're nobody. Get out of my city before I call the cops." The crowd gasps, and Emily's still filming her smirk, growing. Tony shifts, clearly uneasy, but he doesn't intervene. The tension is electric now, the air thick with anticipation. You're on the edge of your seat, your heart pounding. Something's coming. You can feel it. Marcus doesn't back down. He doesn't step forward either. He just stands there, his gaze locked on Preston's, and that faint smile returns. "Call them," he says softly. "I'd love to have a chat." The crowd goes silent. Even Preston freezes, his bravado cracking. What's going on? Who is this guy? Why isn't he scared? And then a car pulls up, a sleek black sedan, tinted windows, the kind of vehicle that screams authority. The driver's door opens, and a woman in a sharp blazer steps out, her expression all business. She doesn't say a word, just hands Marcus a small card. He glances at it, nods, and slips it into his pocket. The camera zooms in just enough to catch a glimpse of the card, another seal matching the one on the notebook. The screen fades to black, but not before Marcus turns to Preston and says, "You're going to want to check that reservation now." His voice is calm, but it's a calm that promises a storm. The screen fades in, and we're back inside Le Château. The crowd has followed Marcus back in, drawn by the drama, and the restaurant is buzzing with tension. Preston's still in charge, or so he thinks, standing behind the hostess podium, like it's his throne. Emily's stopped filming her phone, now clutched nervously in her hand. Tony's hovering nearby, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. And Marcus, he's standing in the center of the room, his tote bag at his feet, that leather notebook now in his hand. "I asked you to check the reservation," Marcus says, his voice cutting through the chatter like a knife. "I'm not going to ask again." Preston scoffs, but it's weaker now, less certain. "You're wasting everyone's time," he says, but his eyes keep darting to the notebook in Marcus's hand. The crowd's watching, waiting, and you can feel their curiosity mirroring your own. What's in that notebook? Why does it matter? Marcus opens the notebook slow and deliberate and pulls out a single sheet of paper. He doesn't show it to Preston, not yet. Instead, he hands it to the woman in the blazer who's now standing beside him. She reads it, nods, and hands it back. "Mr. Turner," she says loud enough for everyone to hear, "the reservation is confirmed. And I've notified the necessary parties." The crowd murmurs, confused. Preston's face goes pale. "What's that supposed to mean?" He snaps, but his voice cracks. He's losing control, and he knows it. Marcus doesn't answer. Instead, he turns to the crowd, his voice calm but commanding. "My name is Marcus Turner. I'm a federal judge for the Northern District of Illinois." The room goes dead silent. You can hear your own heartbeat. A judge. This man in his plain jacket and sneakers, the one they treated like trash. A federal judge. Preston laughs, but it's desperate now, almost manic. "You a judge?" "Yeah, right. Nice try, pal." But his hands are shaking and Emily's backing away, her eyes wide. Tony's frozen, his mouth half open. Marcus doesn't flinch. He holds up the notebook, and now you see it clearly, the seal of the United States District Court. He opens it, revealing a badge official and unmistakable. The woman in the blazer steps forward, her voice sharp. "Judge Turner has been overseeing a case involving discriminatory practices in local businesses. This restaurant was flagged for investigation." The crowd gasps, and now the whispers are turning against Preston. The woman in the red dress from part 1 looks horrified, her hand over her mouth. Emily's phone slips from her hand, clattering to the floor. Preston's face is a mask of panic, his eyes darting around like a trapped animal. "You can't do this," Preston stammers. "This is my restaurant. I make the rules." Marcus steps forward just one step, but it's enough to make Preston flinch. "You don't make the rules," Marcus says, his voice low resolute. "The law does. And the law says you don't get to treat people like garbage because of how they look." The crowd erupts in murmurs, some nodding, others clapping. You're cheering inside your anger from earlier, turning to triumph. Justice is coming, and it's coming fast. The woman in the blazer pulls out a tablet and starts reading off a list of complaints. Racial profiling, discriminatory service, even recorded incidents from former employees. Every word is a hammer, and Preston's crumbling under the weight. He tries to interrupt, but Marcus raises a hand, silencing him without a word. The power has shifted, and it's glorious to watch. "You thought I was nobody." Marcus says, his voice steady but laced with moral weight. "You thought you could humiliate me, throw me out, and no one would care. But you were wrong, and now you're going to face the consequences." The screen lingers on Preston's face, sweaty, pale, defeated. The crowd's buzzing, some filming, now capturing the moment. Marcus turns to the woman in the blazer and nods. She makes a call, and within moments, 2 men in suits enter the restaurant. Federal agents, their badges gleaming. You're grinning now, your heart soaring. Preston's about to get what's coming to him, and you can't wait to see it. The screen fades to black, but not before Marcus looks directly at the camera, his eyes piercing. "This isn't over," he says, and you know he's right. There's one more part to this story, and it's going to be unforgettable. The screen fades in, and Le Château is a different place now. The chandeliers still glitter, but the air feels heavier, charged with the weight of what's about to happen. Marcus stands at the center of the restaurant, his tote bag back over his shoulder, his badge now clipped to his jacket. The crowd is larger now, spilling in from the street drawn by the unfolding drama. Preston's backed against the hostess podium, his bravado gone replaced by a desperate attempt to salvage his reputation. "You can't do this," Preston shouts, but his voice is weak, almost pleading. "This is my livelihood. You're ruining me." The crowd doesn't sympathize. They're done with him, and so are you. Marcus doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. "You ruined yourself," he says, his words carrying the weight of a gavel. "You chose to judge me before you knew me. You chose to humiliate me in front of all these people. And you've been doing it to others for years." He gestures to the crowd, and now you see them. Former employees, customers, people who've been hurt by Preston's prejudice. They're nodding, some with tears in their eyes. The woman in the blazer steps forward holding up her tablet. "We have evidence," she says. "Testimonies, recordings, even security footage from this very restaurant. You've been targeting Black customers, Hispanic customers, anyone who didn't fit your standard. It ends tonight." The federal agents move in, calm but firm, and Preston's protests turn to stammers. "This is a mistake, I didn't mean, but no one's listening." The crowd's filming their phones, capturing every moment of Preston's downfall. Emily's nowhere to be seen. She slipped out during part 3, probably realizing her own role in this mess. Tony, the security guard, steps forward, his head bowed. "I'm sorry," he says to Marcus. "I didn't know." Marcus nods, not with forgiveness, but with understanding. Tony's not the villain here, Preston is. The agents read Preston his rights, and the crowd parts as they lead him out. He's not cuffed, not yet, but the weight of his actions is shackle enough. The camera lingers on his face, ashen, broken, a man who thought he was untouchable, now facing the consequences of his own choices. You feel a surge of satisfaction, but it's not just about revenge. It's about justice, about righting a wrong that's been ignored for too long. Marcus turns to the crowd, his voice steady but warm. "This isn't about me," he says. "This is about every person who's been judged dismissed or humiliated because of who they are. It's about the people who've been told they don't belong. You do belong. And you deserve better." The crowd erupts in applause, and you're clapping too, your heart full. Marcus doesn't smile, doesn't bask in the moment. He just picks up his tote bag and walks toward the door. His work here done. The woman in the blazer follows, and as they step into the Chicago night, the camera pans to the crowd, people of all backgrounds united in this moment of truth. The screen fades to a voiceover, Marcus's voice, resonant and clear. "We all have a choice," he says, "to judge or to understand, to exclude or to embrace. Choose wisely because the world is watching and justice will find you." The words linger, a wake-up call for anyone who's ever looked down on someone else. The screen goes black, and the final shot is of that leather notebook, its seal gleaming under the streetlights. This isn't just a story. It's a reminder, a call to action, a promise that justice can prevail. And as the credits roll, you're left with a fire in your chest, a resolve to do better, to be better. Because if Marcus Turner can flip the script, so can we all.